Hello and welcome to the Watcher Talk. My name is Brandy Miller and I'm here in the studio today with Giovanni Cassuti, who is president of the Italian National Consortium for the Collection, Recycling and Recovering of Plastic Packaging. So in other words, Corepla. Before we begin, I would like you to maybe introduce a bit more of your organization to our audience.
Thanks a lot. Nice meeting you. Nice being here in sunny Brussels for a change.
For a change.
Yeah, for a change. And Corepla is quite important consortium, and we handle the recovery, selections, recycle of millions of tons of plastics, packaging. It all starts with the role of the citizen, but every day, actually, like me, whatever, collect and differentiate plastics from other materials. We do ensure that this is brought all over Italy. 97% of the citizens are involved. 96% of our cities. So it's truly a national widespread consortium.
Yeah, well, thank you. And as well, it is one of Europe's largest plastic recycling systems, if I'm not mistaken.
In Europe.
In Europe, correct.
Yeah.
So now is a very interesting time for your industry because we've seen the EU moving from its primarily climate-driven agenda to now bringing in the word of competitiveness and the dual focus on sustainability and industrial competitiveness. I want to ask a little bit more from your perspective as well, for you having such a leading plastic industry or plastic consortium within Europe. How do you see the EU's move toward a more circular and competitive model taking shape in practice?
Yeah, I mean, the Green Deal that was set up with a strong ideological footprint in 2019, setting the target for neutrality, carbon neutrality in 2050. Plus, reductions of 55% of the carbon emissions in 2030. As I said, started with a very positive push from an ideological point of view that is always needed to change something, right? But then it has to be put on the ground with a very pragmatic approach, and has to work for the citizens, for the environment, and for the industry as well. And Europe had quite an abrupt wake-up call due to a sudden war.
Of course.
That changed the equilibrium in the source of energy, in the cost of energy. And then we had to face strong growth in important countries like China, with subsidies to the circular economy and to the electrifications as well. So all this crisis made us realize quite quickly that we needed to move from, I would say, a green regulations to an industry green strategy. And that's what we are expecting the European Union to do in this period from 2026 up to 2030.
Yeah.
Of course, certain targets have been already set clearly before, but how to reach those targets, how to implement this in order to make sure that our industry will be, I wouldn't use the term protected, but correctly helped in terms of developing, we need to see.
So on that note of the industry green strategy and how to reach the targets, I want to ask you a bit more about the key conditions you see to ensure the expanding framework, which we see having this dual focus, is actually driving circularity and innovation in material recovery in Europe.
Yeah, Europe wants to be a champion, not only setting the example how to recover waste material, but also to have an edge on technology, also to make sure that circularity and sustainability can has a proper good multiplier for our productivity and gross domestic products. We want to see this model that was born with the Green Deal to be a chance for Europe to become stronger and better and more competitive with respect to other part of the world. So how this can be done and which are the main challenges?
Yes,
in
if you
order,
could speak a bit more about the challenges to the business model.
to make sure that these ambitions are then translated in a growing industry and a growing economy for Europe. So first of all, we need to be aware about one thing, that this waste is a mine of values when it's recovered and properly treated. And this is true also for plastic and plastic packaging. But what we need to be aware that this mine cannot be interrupted. So if we go back to our studies in international trade, you would say, okay, it's more competitive, it's more productive to produce a certain goods in another area that is not Europe. We will import it and the consumer will benefit. We cannot decide where to produce waste. We will, no matter what, keep producing our waste.
Yeah, naturally.
Naturally. So from the economic point of view, we need to be aware that that waste is our resources and therefore that's something that we need to use in order to promote recycling mechanically, chemically, and protect making the right investments, giving funding, making sure that that waste is the waste that we use for our circular economy. We cannot have waste produced elsewhere to come in and substitute our waste, because then we would have the waste on the streets.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah, so that's a very important base to understand the first challenge, and therefore the first objectives for the legislations to take in consideration. The second challenge is the fact that what do you do with this plastic waste at the end? At the end, that plastic waste has a market in producing objects, in manufacturing something. This can be a new packaging.
Yeah, I know some clothing brands personally.
Clothing, you know. We don't name the trademark, but they are, you know, you can wear something and you say, you know, from recycling. So you are in the textile industry, you are in the wire and cables, you are in the real estate, in constructions, and in many sectors. So there need to be a demand. There needs to be a market for this waste, right? And therefore, the law must make sure that there is some correct, realistic targets in terms of percentage of material that has to be into these applications, into this product. On the other side, we also need to be fully aware that while you can produce these objects, these manufacturers, these products with recycling waste, you can also produce this with virgin materials. So once again, we need to make sure that these two markets, they are not getting in competitions. Because when the cost of original virgin raw materials go very low, then maybe not profitable to use waste material because it's simply more expensive. So also regulation needs to make sure that these two markets do not get into competitions.
Yeah, competition amongst it itself.
Itself, yeah.
So that's what you would expect in this new phase of legislation, correct?
Yeah, that what I would, in delegated acts, that's technically means how to apply the principle, the objectives, going through, the traceability of what is recycled, the content of what is recycled, if the chemical recycling is involved, which has the percentage exactly that has to be part of a product, and I don't know, the eco design of the product as well. So industry need to know very quickly from the legislations which are those delegates acts, which are those targets in practice, because you need a certain clear horizon in order to make your own investments.
Naturally.
To get the finance. They also need to understand, and this is present, which is the chance that the European funds for circularity will provide. So that's a crucial moment for an industry that is extremely important, that generates actually a very important multiple in terms of €1 invested in this industry, how much GDP it brings out, because it's a very complex. So you put €1 there and you have €3-4 more in your economy. So we need truly to see legislations to protect, but I would say more than protect, promote this ambitious program.
I want to turn a bit to the implementation of the Single-Use Plastics Directive, so to speak a little bit more frankly about policy. It's one of the most high-profile environmental laws, and it has a lot of lessons that have been learned thus far. How do you see plastics evolving within this new strategy?
I mean, plastic has always a chance to show how their characteristics can contribute not only to the economy but to the health of people and to the environment, making sure, of course, that it's not wasted. Plastic in itself is not damaging if it's not used badly.
Yeah.
Let's say, we all remember how helpful it was to have during the COVID, our
The
masks.
face
Yeah,
masks,
that they if you touch them, it looks like textile, but was 98% plastics.
Yeah.
Or when you have this single-use plastic, of course, has this adverse reaction. They say you use just once, right, and then you waste it, and then you throw it away. But if you recover it, you can actually show that, life cycle assessment would show that in terms of carbon emission is actually not that bad. So I'm not here to promote more plastic consumption.
Of course, no.
This is not my job. I'm here to promote the fact that we can more and more recover value from the plastic that we have. And also I feel that reuse is a complementary part of it. They're not, sometimes people get too much football supporters when they talk about plastics. I would prefer to be more scientific about it, and face it from a more rational point of view.
That makes sense. So you were also speaking, if we do speak about the market, the strength of the market for recycled materials or getting the single use to a more recycled base, how do you see the EU institutions ensuring that markets develop in line with the real needs and expectations of companies?
I mean, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's good, but it's also very big, so you can nuance it.
Yeah, it's a big. I mean, companies. First of all, EU works in in an industrial system, in manufacturing, recycling, and packaging industry that is very wide and has got different models in different countries. You know, some countries are more advanced. Some countries had decided to focus more on recycling, on multi-material plastic. Others decided to go only from, you know, mainly from PET, so the easier plastic to recover. But overall, I think most of the requests I hear from all the actors in the industry, all the companies, is to have, you know, a very homogeneous, a very clear legislations, not too complex, and make sure that they can fight on equal terms against other countries, and not to find themselves challenged by a legislation that makes their process more expensive,
over-regulated.
or regulated, or more expensive. And
as well.
they want to talk, they want to be part of the decision. They don't want to receive the solution together with the objectives. They want to be, you know, I would say, free in terms of applying the technology they want in order to achieve those objectives. Yeah, that's what the industry expects.
And so where the state is now, do you see a current disconnect on this, or on achieving this homogeneity, or as well stakeholder-driven technology that you're speaking of?
Yeah, I see in these moments quite a lot of worries on the recycling industry. We saw quite a number of companies closing their activities because the profit was not there, the costs were way too high. And once again, I think Europe prepared a very nice cake, right? And this cake should be eaten by Europeans, right? And
I like the analogy.
yeah, not beaten by someone else that is coming and say, okay, you did a good job, you created a great market, now we come in and get it. I think we are quickly learning from our mistakes that have been done in the automotive, that have been done in the nuclear energy, and I can name many others, and now it's very difficult to go back. So I really appreciated this new vibe and this new will to move from, as I said before, from a green regulation to a strategy for the industry, making sure that our industry will be competitive in the circularity business model.
Yeah. I'd say my last question is maybe back to what you said at the beginning. This is all about the citizens. What do you see Europe needing to do in order to make this legislation work for citizens? Or what would you hope it would be in the next 5 years going into the new mandate in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I might speak a bit with my experience in Italy. I mean, we have been with Corepla extremely present and strong in the territories, in cities, municipalities, in regions. We worked with schools, we worked with theaters, we worked with arts organizations, and we are keep building these cultural aspects of do not waste, please do select. And the response of the citizens in the last 4 or 5 years has been, I would say, extraordinary good, way beyond the expectations. So what, let's say, the politicians, what the legislations, what the municipalities need to give back to this effort. The insurance that effort is not for nothing, and make sure that they are aware that effort has a comeback in terms of environment, in terms of jobs, in terms of better economy in their own territory. I mean, citizens in this moment, especially the youngsters,
Yeah.
they are really strongly committed in this cultural path, way more than people of my age.
Yeah.
Actually worked a lot with the youngsters. I think we should work more with
Naturally,
the
yes.
elderly. And yeah, well, the way I see is we are living a new enlightenment period. No? Not going back to Voltaire, Montesquieu, or these
Yes.
kind of guys. You know, we are talking at that time about the rights of people. Now we are talking about the fact that animals has got rights and also the environment has got
And the
rights.
environment.
Yeah, and the fact that we grew in this awareness is very, in my opinion, clear when I'm in the territory. We honestly we did amazing work. We work also with the youngsters and in the minor, you know, in the prisons in Italy, bringing awareness even there, and everybody is really receptive about this. So what we need to do for the citizen is to make sure that they see the outcome of their effort,
Yeah.
because culturally they're there.
So Europe giving its citizens the cake to eat.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Giovanni, for joining us today in such a wonderful conversation. And thank you to our viewers for joining us.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.